I'll... Hello, everyone. Welcome to week 14 of the Master Plan series. This week, we are going to talk about the 5 most important things when it comes to um, brand positioning and positioning your brand in the market. And this really helps to define and set you apart from your competitors. So moving swiftly on, we'll talk about defining your brand identity, and that comes in 5 different stages. First of all, you've got to be really clear on what your company's mission, vision, and values are. These are the golden thread that goes through your whole business and really helps you to make decisions on recruitment, on your customer base, on your products and your services. So if you are not clear on your mission, your vision, and your values, we've got some really helpful worksheets that are free on the Sales Success Circle, and we can certainly help you with those. The next thing is to be really clear on what your unique value proposition is. This is the heart of your identity. It's what totally sets your brand apart from anyone else, and it answers the question, why should your customers choose to work with you rather than any of your competitors? You really have to align your unique value proposition with your customers by understanding your target audience's emotional and functional needs to create a really deep connection, because that's what bonds your customers to you, and that's what's going to make your company really attractive when it comes to selling the business. So I'll give an example of that. And I worked with a coffee shop in Bristol. So they determined that their brand was all about things like sustainability and community engagement, because they recognised that in Bristol there was a lot of people who are really quite passionate about sustainability. So what they did is they had a little bit of a pivot, and they did more ethically produced beans they sourced for their coffee beans, and they donated a percentage of their sales to local charities. So this really helped to attract many more customers that love to come in because of their ethical stance, but also it made them a prime target and made them much more valuable when it came to a larger food and drink company wanted to buy them because they wanted to really work on their sustainable market segment. So it's definitely something to think about. You also want to look at making sure that your emotional and functional connections are there, and that your brand identity ties in with that. Once you've done that, then you can ensure that all your marketing has the same tone and voice and visual representation, which is really useful in your marketing. It's what sets you apart from your customers, and so the more work you can do on that, the more valuable your company can become. The next one is talking about customer perception. Your brand exists in the minds of your customers, so understanding their perception of your brand is really important. So the important thing to do is to try to gain insights through things like surveys, reviews, and feedback to uncover how your audience views your brand. This can really highlight your strengths and also areas that might need improvement. So the easiest way to explain this a little bit more is to give you an example. So there was a boutique skincare company that I work with in Manchester, and they used customer surveys to find out more information about their customers and their views. And they could see from the surveys that their brand was seen as a high quality, but somewhat inaccessible due to the level of pricing. And that's what you've got to really be really conscious of in your area. So in response, they produced a whole new brand range, which was a much more affordable product, which still maintained some of the aspects of the premium branding. This adjustment helped them to not just increase market share, but it really enhanced their brand equity. Ultimately, it provided them with information about their customers, bonded their customers more strongly, and improved their valuation when they sought investors, because they didn't have just one brand. They had a premium brand, and then they had a less premium brand, which was still seen as very high quality. The third thing you need to think about is competitive analysis. I can't stress more the import the importance of understanding your customers, and most of the companies I work with don't do this often enough. It's a really useful thing to do with your team at least once a year, is to really deep dive into your customers. Maybe go and spend time as mystery shoppers in your customers, and so you get deeper into the essence of their brands and what makes them different, and so you can differentiate your own one. To position your brand effectively, you really need to understand these competitors. And so the first question is, who are your main competitors? And it's really important to get a clear list of those. And then look at what they're doing really well. And then look at what you think are the gaps, or your team think are the gaps, and where they're falling short. You then want to have a look at how they communicate their value and their market segments. So you've already done work previously on defining your customer avatar. What is their ideal customer avatar? And is there a crossover with yours? And how can you differentiate yourself? These gaps are the things that really can make your business stand apart, and your brand to stand out. And your brand standing out again is one thing that will develop much more value for you and for your business when you go to sell. I've invested in a number of breweries, and I've also worked with some of them, and one of them is in Sheffield, a craft brewery, and they noticed that a lot of their competitors were focusing on traditional ales and traditional beer styles. So they decided to address this by having a much more innovative approach. So they had experimental brews such as sour beers, and they did storytelling about their local heritage. So innovation and heritage was something that they changed to make themselves stand up for their competitors. This differentiation didn't only allow them to capture a really local niche, but it boosted their visibility. People like camera jumped on them because they wanted to talk about a brewery that really approached things a little bit differently. So they then got in the public eye, and they attracted larger brewers. And they started a collaboration with a much bigger brewer, which suddenly meant that they had much more distribution points. And a couple of years later, they actually got acquired by that larger brewer for a very reasonable sum. So think about your competitors, think about your differentiation, and look at how you can stand out so that it can lead to potential collaborations and maybe acquisitions. The fourth one is storytelling. So going back to the best forms of communication, one of the best forms of communication is storytelling, because that's what really fits with your customers' emotions, and it also allows your differentiation to be remembered a lot more. Storytelling really is one of the most powerful tools for building a strong brand. Your brand story should reflect your journey, your mission, and the positive impact that you aim to create with your product and services. But you have to be authentic with this. Customers can really connect with brands that feel genuine and relatable. So I'll give you an example of that. Well, the first example is innocent drinks. And when innocent drinks came about, there wasn't very much choice of good, healthy drinks on the market. It was just fresh orange juice, apple juice, and claim that sort of product. Innocent came on, and they really talked about ecologically sound products that were healthy, naturally sourced, and they had an innovative range of different products, so they could really stand out. The second example is a fashion startup that I work with in London, and they shared their story, which was really powerful. They basically worked as a collective, and they employed a lot of underprivileged artisans to create unique designs. So they basically acted as a stage for a lot of local businesses that didn't really often get an opportunity to go into a retail setting. They really used social media, and they shared videos, blogs, and testimonials. And it really helped them to build emotional resonance with their audience, who felt that they were contributing to a meaningful cause by supporting their brand, but also getting statement pieces and things that were unusual and different. This really helped to build customer loyalty, but it also generated investors interested in socially responsible businesses. So they ended up expanding outside London because they had investors that wanted to work in partnership. So the fifth and final one that we're talking about today is ensuring that your brand has consistency across each of the channels that you use. If you're not using social media as one of your channels, it really is something that's important to do. And there's simple, straightforward ways to do that, which we go through on the Sales Success Circle. But the 5 things that you need to do to ensure consistency across the channel is the visual branding, the tone of the voice of the messaging, aligning all of your marketing channels, auditing the customer touch points, and having a clear brand style that you put across each of your different marketing channels. Consistency is something that really solidifies your brand in the minds of customers, and the stronger your brand and the more brand awareness you have, the more your company is worth. Every single interaction you have, whether it's your website, whether it's social media, packaging, or maybe customer service, it really needs to be a cohesive experience. So start off with understanding your visual elements, your logo, your color palette, and your typesetting, and ensure that your fonts and things are consistent across all the platforms you use. You can do this quite easily these days by using tools, free tools like Canva. Then your tone of voice, whether you want to go for a really professional voice or something that's friendly or maybe completely innovative or fun. You also need to ensure that that's uniform, whether it's on your website, your social media, whichever marketing or sales channel, and also in your customer interactions. So if you want to have a fun and friendly brand, you need to make sure that your sales staff are also tying in with those company values. One of the really interesting examples I had was a tech startup that I work with in Edinburgh. And they specialized in cyber security, which is obviously becoming a huge issue at the moment. So they put together a simple brand style guide, and it meant that their messaging on their social media, their website, and their client presentations all reflected their professionalism, because that was really important to them. And of course, it would be in cybersecurity, but also their innovative approach. So this consistency really enforced their credibility and trustworthiness. And that's the key thing. You're wanting to make, if there's any difference between your different channels and your different voices, you tend to lose credibility. People think you're probably using AI and you're not taking it from the heart. So making sure you've got the consistency in these different ways is a crucial factor to grow your business, but also in the case of the Edinburgh cybersecurity company, it really helped them to be acquired by a larger tech firm because they liked their strong brand. So today we've covered 5 different ways to really make an impact by your brand on your value of your company and also the stickiness of your customers. They're more likely to stay with you when they can resonate with what you represent and probably, hopefully, share your values. So we've talked about quite a few things like your vision, your mission, your values, making sure that those are clear, and looking at consistency of your marketing plan. The good news is that you can access those this year through the Sales Success Circle, and there's a link below that you can use on the YouTube video to access this. The program there, that's the entry level is free. is really giving you the tools to diversify your customer base, secure long-term contracts, build customer satisfaction, and what's most important when you come to think about selling your business is building that loyal customer base. So look up the Sales Success Circle. It's a great community and it gives you some really good support. So have we got any questions today? Okay. I can see that Phil has raised a question about, it says, how do I evaluate the current market value of my brand? Yeah, the value of your brand is a really important thing when it comes to selling your business. It's one of those intangible assets. And evaluating the market value of your brand is really a combination of quantitative and qualitative analysis. So a potential buyer will often assess your brand value based on financial performance, customer loyalty, brand recognition, and industry positioning, which we've talked about today, how you make your brand stand out. So a step-by-step approach, the first thing I do is look at revenue contribution and look at how much of your revenue you think can be attributed to your brand. So, for example, if you operate in a niche industry and your brand is the go-to for a specific product or service, this really increases the value. The second thing that I'd look at is customer metrics. So your customer retention scores, your net promoter score, if you do measure that, and your brand awareness are in your target market is really important, because strong customer loyalty obviously enhances your brand value. And what you're going to have to do when you sell your company is find a way of selling this value so that you could get a better valuation for your business. The next three things are position yourself in the market, make sure your intellectual property is protected, and brand equity. So those are probably the things I do. Market position, we've talked about today. You've got to be clear on what differentiates you from your competitors. So make sure that you do regular competitor analysis with your team. Intellectual property we covered 3 weeks ago. If you don't have any trademarks or you don't have any patents, look at whether it's worth doing. And a lot of these IP companies will give you a free brand audit to see whether there's anything that should or could be protected. I've protected quite a few companies by trademarking, which is a process that you can do yourself, which is very nominal fees. So it's definitely worth doing. And the last one is the brand equity valuation models. You can actually find those quite easily on the internet these days. To answer your question, Phil, as well, I love giving you examples, and my favorite example, I suppose, in this area is Hotel Chocolate. Who doesn't like a really nice brand of chocolate? They leveraged their strong brand positioning to really improve their valuation. So if you are aware of the brand, beautiful chocolates, and they're known for their premium, ethically sourced chocolate. And they have really built a fantastic and loyal brand and customer base through innovation and their clear commitment to sustainability. When they looked a few years ago to expand through public investment, their brand's really strong reputation and differentiated market position drove the valuation significantly higher than their competitors with similar financial metrics. So hopefully that's helped, Phil. Do get in touch if you want to have more explanation for your business. Okay, we have another question. That's from Mark. What quick wins can I implement to strengthen my brand's position before selling? Okay, let me give you a few thoughts on that. What would I do to make my brand more attractive to buyers? Firstly, be clear on your brand messaging. So we've talked about value proposition today. Making sure that your message is very consistent across your social media and your other marketing channels. The next thing is probably the customer, and it's trying to make the customer experience better. So using case studies and testimonials on your website is a really powerful way to do this. And it helps to solidify your brand's success and its reputation. The other thing is engaging in partnerships. So if you've got complementary brands or influencers, that's quite a good way of building up your brand value, particularly social media influencers these days. And you really need to make sure, if it's not there, that you enhance your online presence. It's not all about websites these days, and it's not all about SEO. It really is about trying to build up a law network on your social media, whatever your brand is. So if you're into skincare, you've probably heard of Ren as a really good skincare brand from the UK. They wanted to put themselves up for sale, and they thought it was going to be really important to do some quick wins to enhance their value. They ultimately ended up selling to Unilever. So they streamlined their brand messaging around clean beauty, and they launched a social media campaign to reflect that. It really highlighted their sustainability efforts, and they then cleaned up their branding. They made their packaging much more simple and much more striking to really represent their premium quality. So these steps that they took really helped to boost their sales, and it made their brand much more appealing to a global buyer that wanted a differentiated brand for their portfolio, and that's how they ended up selling to Unilever. So I hope that was useful. I think we've got time for one more question. Okay. Mary says, how can I align my brand positioning to appeal to the type of buyer that I want? Okay. Different buyers are definitely attracted to different brand attributes. So you really have to understand your ideal buyer type. And many companies that I work with that are trying to sell their business don't really think about who they want to sell it to. But I think it's really important to do this. So, do you want to sell to a strategic buyer, i.e., somebody who's already involved in your industry, or a private equity firm, or an individual investor? If you've got a family company, you may find that an individual investor will protect your brand a little bit more than some of the other opportunities. But be really clear on your ideal buyer type. Strategic buyers will be buyers who are looking for synergy, such as complementary products or access to a new market. That was what Unilever did when they bought Ren. So you need to, if you want a strategic buyer, you need to emphasize how your brand fits in with the portfolio or provides access to things like untapped customer segments that that business doesn't currently deal with. If your company is a little bit larger, you might consider selling to a private equity. So they really focus on growth potential. Normally, they're looking for a return for their investors within 3 to 5 years. So they're really focused on growth and profitability. To attract a buyer like that, you really want to focus on your brand potential with regard to scalability, market opportunities, and untapped revenue streams, and that will get them really excited. If you are looking for an individual investor, these can fit in really well with small and medium-sized companies. You've created a legacy, and individual buyers are often emotionally driven and look for legacy or lifestyle businesses. So it's really important then to spend work on building up your brand story, your culture, and your values. So think about what type of buyer you want. And the next thing you need to do is align your positioning. So do make sure that you've got your buyer persona created. Who do you want to sell your business to? And understand then their unique goals and needs and values. And then you can adjust your messaging to reflect what the buyer wants most. And then provide case studies that show how your brand achieves results in alignment with their priorities. Again, I love explaining by examples. So most of you have probably heard of Graze, the little snack boxes that people enjoy during the day. They aligned their brand positioning to appeal to a big strategic buyer. And just like Ren, they ended up ultimately selling to Unilever. So to build up their brand, they initially focused on their direct-to-consumer healthy snacks. And that was when you could go online and do a subscription that would be sent through to you through your letterbox. They then shifted their position to emphasize its potential in retail, and they got some really good contracts with groceries. So they were listed in a lot of grocery stores just as impulse purchases by the till. This then was enabled them to show through grocery that they were scalable across global markets. So pivoting like that was something that really helped them to appeal to a larger business, and Unilever were ultimately the people who were looking for a healthy snack portfolio. So Grace was an ideal acquisition target for them, and they got a tremendous deal out of that. So I hope that helps you to understand how you can align your business to your perfect buyer. So thank you very much for joining this week, and next week we will be moving on to talk about how to make your company stand out a little bit more from the competitors. So hope you've enjoyed it today. Leave your comments and questions below, and please use the link to have a look at what's offered free of charge as the entry level for the Sales Success Circle. Have a great Christmas. Bye.